The AI phone wars are heating up as Samsung gets ready to put an AI model directly on their next Galaxy phone. Welcome back to the AI Breakdown. There are a lot of different quote-unquote AI wars happening right now. There is the race around foundation models. There are the battles between open source on the one hand and the closed source companies on the other, many of whom are connected to the arguments of the AI safety folks. But the AI war that we are exploring today is one that is just starting to emerge. And that is the battle to be the first to get AI models running locally on the hardware devices that dominate so much of our lives. Now, the specific context for this news is an announcement from Samsung of a new generative AI model called Samsung Gauss, and the report that this is likely to find its way onto the next generation of their Galaxy devices, the S24. So let's talk first about Gauss itself. Gauss was announced as a part of a Samsung conference in South Korea on Wednesday. The way that Nikkei Asia summed it up was that the model can write emails in Korean and English, summarize reports and translate documents, and create images in the forms of photos and paintings. Now, much more interesting than the technology itself, which seems on par with and not necessarily super distinct from any other LLM that we've seen, is the fact that Samsung plans to put it directly on its smartphones. Now, Samsung has a 20% global share of the smartphone market, meaning that this is a huge player, and when it comes to the potential for AI integrations on devices like this to mainstream AI, you have to be paying attention to a company that has that sort of reach. Now, a couple other interesting details about Gauss itself. It is apparently actually three models brought together: Gauss Language, Gauss Code, and Gauss Image. The model was apparently developed by the research arm of Samsung, Samsung Research, and is being used by employees inside the company. At the Samsung AI Forum, they said that the name, quote, reflects Samsung's ultimate vision for the models, which is to draw from all the phenomenon and knowledge in the world in order to harness the power of AI to improve the lives of consumers everywhere. Now, one of the big questions is how much of this will be able to run locally on the device. So far, reports on that are pretty vague. For example, The Verge writes, parts of Samsung's Gauss model can run locally on the device, and Samsung executives teased last month that the company will start adding generative AI to core functions of mobile devices starting in 2024. They also said in a press release that Gauss could, quote, enhance the consumer experience by enabling smarter device control when integrated into products. Okay, so at this point, we're not going to get a lot more details on that, but what makes this story worthy of digging into is what it represents in terms of this competition to get AI integrated with devices, and specifically to have AI that can run locally on devices without having to go to the cloud. This has seemingly been a big challenge when it comes to Apple's AI strategy. Apple is well known for its preference for keeping things on device as much as possible and out of the cloud, which it views through the lens both of performance and of privacy. Given that today's frontier models can't really run on phones, that's been part of the challenge when it comes to Apple figuring out what it wants to do in the space. However, from all the reports that we're getting, it seems like however much that challenge remains, it's not one that Apple is willing to wait too much longer on. At the beginning of September, The Information reported that the group inside Apple focused on AI was now spending millions of dollars per day training their AI models, even if they weren't sure exactly yet how they were going to be implemented. Now, in October, we got more reports on these efforts as well. Bloomberg reported that Apple was going to spend up to $1 billion a year to catch up on AI, and that basically the mandate internally was to find ways to integrate it into everything. So as for example, AI integrated into Apple Music would create auto-generated playlists. AI integrated into Xcode would assist developers building on iOS. Bloomberg summed it up as Apple's big plan to bring generative AI to all its devices. Now, one interesting subnote about this is that Bloomberg had reported for the first time that the external-facing image that Tim Cook and Apple were trying to project of Apple not feeling behind on AI was, according to their sources, mostly just spin. Wrote Bloomberg's Mark Gurman, Chief Executive Officer Tim Cook says that Apple has been working on generative AI technology for years. But I can tell you in no uncertain terms that Apple executives were caught off guard by the industry's sudden AI fever and have been scrambling since late last year to make up for lost time. A person with knowledge of the matter told Bloomberg, quote, there's a lot of anxiety about this and it's considered a pretty big miss internally. Now, after this came out, another set of sources said that while there was anxiety internally, it wasn't about feeling behind currently. Because Apple is never the first mover, they're the ones who get things right and mainstream it. Instead, those sources said that the real anxiety is coming from a lack of confidence in the particular team who's in charge of AI inside the company actually being able to deliver. Now, the story got yet another update when Apple held its Halloween-themed event at which they announced their new line of iMacs and MacBook Pros. Now, more important than the devices themselves were the Apple Silicon chips that were running inside them. The new M3 line of chips, particularly the M3 Max, represented the first time that Apple had specifically spoken to the AI market as it made a pitch for its products. Indeed, Inc. summed it up, with the M3, Apple is finally talking about AI. Whereas during previous Apple events like the Worldwide Developer Conference, they hadn't actually used the words artificial intelligence, that changed at this event. For example, when discussing the M3, the company said that, quote, the neural engine is up to 60% faster than in the M1 family of chips, making AI ML workflows even faster while keeping data on device to preserve privacy. They also said that increased memory capacity on the M3 Max supports, quote, workflows previously not possible on a laptop, such as AI developers working with even larger transformer models with billions of parameters. As Inc. sums up, Apple isn't just talking about the features it builds into its own products that take advantage of its own capabilities, but is also explicitly positioning its new MacBook Pros as a tool for developers building AI products. That's a pretty significant change. Now, all of this was reinforced in a Q&A with CEO Tim Cook last week, where Cook said that Apple was, quote, investing quite a bit in AI, and that while, quote, I'm not going to get into detail about it because we don't really do that, you can bet we're investing. We're investing quite a bit. You will see product advancements over time where those technologies are at the heart of it. Now, on that front, outside of just the iPhone, it appears that another area where AI is going to come to the fore with Apple devices is around their Apple Watch, their AirPods, and other wearables. According to Bloomberg, next year's Apple Watch is going to have some significant upgrades. For example, those watches are reported to have a new sensor which detects when a person's blood pressure is elevated, a new system to detect sleep apnea, an AI health coach, and the company is even working to turn its AirPods into over-the-counter hearing aids. Alex Cohen tweets, I know we're all bombarded with news, right? But holy crap, how are we not all talking about this? New Apple Watch can detect early signs of hypertension, diabetes, and sleep apnea. This is an insane step forward for wearables. Now, of course, it is not just the big existing incumbents that are thinking about AI and devices, but some of the newer players as well. One of the selfie projects that has gotten the most chatter are reports that former Apple head designer Johnny Ive and OpenAI's Sam Altman have been spending a fairly significant amount of time together exploring a new AI-powered product. The Verge says that the project aims to, quote, create a more natural way to interact with AI. And apparently the collaboration is looking for up to $1 billion in funding from SoftBank in order to get this new device, whatever it turns into, off the ground. Writes The Verge, according to 3 people familiar with the plan, the duo are aiming to create a device that provides a more natural and intuitive user experience to interact with artificial intelligence. They've taken inspiration from how the touchscreen technology on the original iPhone helped revolutionize our interaction with the mobile internet. SoftBank CEO Masayoshi Son is offering funding for the effort and has reportedly pushed for chip design company ARM, which Son holds a 90% stake in, to play a central role. Now, these reports are pretty nascent, and it also sounds like nothing has yet been committed to when it comes to the form factor or even the approach to this device. Really, it's sounding like it starts from the inspiration that the rise of artificial intelligence is going to create an opportunity for some fundamentally different type of interface. Now, speaking of that, Sam Altman has also invested in a company called Humane, which is itself exploring a fundamentally different approach to devices in the AI era, and which is planning on releasing a lot more information about their first device tomorrow on November 9th. I will, of course, be back with a report on that after that presentation comes out. In many ways, this is just scratching the surface on the AI device space. We're starting to see startups like Tab, which is a device that you wear on your body or around your neck, and which keeps track of everything of import so that you can use it as an active collaborator, and the Rewind pendant, which is something very similar. So maybe when it comes right down to it, it's not really so much the AI phone wars, but the AI device wars. That's the relevant framework that we need to be paying attention to. In any case, it seems like the next year is shaping up to be a very vibrant time, not only in AI software, but about the hardware device extensions as well. I will, of course, keep an eye on it and let you know about all of the relevant things here on the AI Breakdown. So thanks one more time for listening or watching, and until next time, peace.